This Jag has some serious problems. Let's get it moved over to the lift and see what is going on with this thing. That smoke you just saw smells like raw gasoline. And based on just seeing that, you could say, oh my God, this engine is toast. And we're going to talk about today some of the ventures the customer's been through to get to Omega, get her car to here, and what she's been told versus what is really wrong and what is it going to cost. This is a 2014 Jaguar F-Type. It has the 5-liter supercharged V8 in it. And as you saw, it's got some serious issues. This customer had it to a shop. I believe it was a dealer. I'm not sure where exactly, but they told her $20,000 to fix this problem. Engine out, some massive, I'm not sure what they said they were all going to repair, but it was going to be a massive $20,000 job. We're going to show you today that's not even going to be half as much to fix this car, but it's still not going to be cheap. Let's take a look around this thing, and then we're going to dive into what did we find wrong that's making all this smoke in the shop. There's the front of this F-Type. You can see there's a couple of emblems there, one being the growler. It's growling, looking at you. And the other one denoting an S. Doesn't look like the Jags of old, does it, Mrs. Wizard?
No, no, and I do like a good vintage Jag, but this definitely doesn't have that vintage Jag look.
This one's black with black interior and black wheels, and has some pretty good sized brakes on it as well. Big brakes inside that wheel, almost as big as the wheel itself. You probably need it because these things are pretty quick. As we go down the side, you can see it's not caved in or beat up or anything wrong with it. There you see F-Type, S. There's the quad exhaust. Very nice taillights. I really like the way they do the taillights on these. It looks like a squinting eye, kind of. Otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the interior, and then we're going to go under the bonnet.
Well, the Wizard has made my life a little more complicated today. Well, he does sometimes do that to me. But he has left the steering wheel at an angle when he was pulling it over here and has made it a little harder to see our gauge cluster, but we can see through a little. It does show that we have 7,205 miles, so it's a very low mileage car. So as you see, it does say a low battery, so I guess that's an issue that the Wizard will have to attend to at some point, but that is not the problem that we have. That is not the biggest problem that this customer unfortunately has. But the gauge cluster is very nice. We have our speedometer on the left and our tach on the right. As we move up, we have a really nice dash. Again, everything in here, as the Wizard said just a second ago, is black on black. So more black, and more black. Leather dash with black stitching. We have some red stitching in a few locations that you'll see in just a moment. Infotainment system has a little bit of dust, but nothing crazy. It looks like the push button has had some of that, it is a push button. I promise it should say start, stop on there, but it's been worn away. But that's really about the only damage we see in the car. That's about the only thing that's worn off. We have our gear selector that is holding a nice little ponytail holder for that customer. As we move back, you'll see that we have a nice little spot here for our cup holder. We have a leather wrapped armrest, where she's got a few more items in there as well. Behind our armrest is this fun little button. If I press this, it gently comes down, and it has a little cargo net, and she's got, just some wipes in there to, keep the car clean. So nice little hidey hole in there. Our seats are leather wrapped as well, and here we're starting to see some of that red stitching. Love the design. Even got a little bit of bolster on our shoulders, and again bolster on the sides, even on the bottom cushion as well. As you see on our door card, you'll see we have automatic seats with memory settings for 3 different people. You can see that everything is looking really nice. That armrest is again another location. We have some more of that red stitching. We also have red accent on our seatbelt as well. As we look through the back, this is a 2-seater, but we do see we have an air dam. It's kind of a vented air dam in there as well. And our convertible top is in good shape as well. I don't see any, marks or, tears or anything like that. So back of their steering wheel, and here's where the Wizard was causing me problems today. There is our Jaguar upside down. And in comics, that usually denoted that the animal was dead. Not the case here. She is not a dead jaguar. She is just having some issues that needs to be addressed that are not going to cost $20,000 like the previous dealer said. I'm really curious what's going on with this thing. Let's get this bonnet open and see what's going on.
Lately, I've found we've been getting some really weird and expensive problems in the shop. Some customers have approved those repairs. A few have said, don't do it. I can't afford it. And that's really hard to hear. No one wants to think about debt. But the cold, hard truth of the matter is, many of us have it. And with the upcoming holidays, that debt may get deeper. Last year, half of American spenders took on debt just to pay for the holidays. This year could be you, and it could be me. Luckily, it's never too late to start planning a way to get out. My friends at PDS Debt, the sponsor of today's video, understands debt and can help build a personalized solution for you. If you find you make your payments, but those balances are not going down, PDS Debt can help. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt, like credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, or collections, qualifies. Start planning today. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/carwizard. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/carwizard. Now back to this Jag F-Type. So go ahead and pull this engine cover off. We can see intercoolers. It looks like the one you had, Mrs. Wizard.
It does. That XJR we had was a great car, super fast.
This one is the 5-liter V8, though it's a different engine, but it's kind of the same idea here with this little silver intercooler here. As you can see, yes, it's very hard to get to anything on this. Luckily, I don't believe we need to get to anything on the top of this engine. It would be quite a deal. But let's talk about why all the smoke, why $20,000 in estimates, what's really going on with this car. So it's easy to see all that smoke and say this engine's burning oil, there's something drastically wrong, something catastrophic has happened to this engine. You need a new engine, it's going to be 20 grand. I believe that's kind of what happened at a previous shop she went to. She also went to another shop which kind of got the diagnosis correct. She brought it to us for a third opinion to kind of double verify. She's getting so much different stories. Today we're going to talk about what's with all the smoke. A lot of things can cause smoke. You can have rings on the pistons letting oil by. You can have valve seals that are failing. You can have fueling issues with the injectors, or it could be a carburetor on an older car. You could actually have coolant getting into the cylinders with a blown head gasket or something like that. But on this vehicle, it's pretty much none of those things. There's nothing wrong other than something with the fuel system. If I was worried about possible internal engine damage, I could do a compression test or take the spark plugs out and put my Teschlong camera in the hole and kind of check things out, which is a borescope camera. But I didn't need to go that far. Junior Man actually did a scan of the system on this car and found these codes. And as you can see, there's multiple codes reporting low fuel pressure on the high pressure system, no fuel pressure on the high pressure system, and also fuel enrichment and all kinds of other things going on, which makes sense. After we did a few other checks with the data, where we saw the high pressure PSI should be at this level, it never even gets close to that level. We verified what's wrong with this car. This has 3 fuel pumps in this car. One in the fuel tank, which runs at about 70 PSI, but that doesn't supply the fuel pressure to run the engine. It's not supposed to anyway. All it does is supply the high pressure fuel pumps, which run off of the engine, the cams. Some of them run off of cams, some of them run off of various other ways, but it takes the 70 PSI and pumps it up to thousands of PSI and directly injects it into the cylinders, called direct injection. You gotta have thousands of PSI to do that, or it won't combust, it won't work right. Right now what we're doing is these high pressure pumps are not really doing their job. There's 2 of them on the engine, and it's just barely enough to even start the engine, and it's not combusting properly. The engine computer is noticing it's not getting the fuel that it wants, so it's opening the injectors, really spraying the fuel to try to make up for the lack of pressure. And in doing so, it's fogging the shop. You just saw all the smoke. It's because the computer is trying to at least keep this thing alive somewhat. There's just not enough pressure to finally atomize the fuel. It's dribbling in, basically, and it's not combusting properly. Where are the high pressure fuel pumps on this? They're not even up here. They're on the bottom. And it's not a 30-minute job. Let's get this thing on the lift and take a look. And here we are, we're going to show all the smoke again as we're going to move it to the lift. Obviously you wouldn't want to drive this out on the road. It wouldn't even drive very well, and it could cause damage to the catalytic converters or something. But just to move it in the shop, just a small number of feet, it's not going to hurt anything. But I wanted to show you guys what you're seeing versus what's really wrong. So here we are with the Jag up in the air. Let's take a look at the whole car first, then we'll dive into where are these pumps located. We're not seeing any leaks on the front of the engine, anything going on like that. Let's check our brakes. Brakes are about half gone. Nothing loose. Brakes are same over here. Strut is good. Sway bar is good, nothing loose. Here we have our transmissions, nice and dry, there's nothing leaking. We don't really have any issues on the rest of the car other than the smoke and the check engine light and running rough. Here's our exhaust. Drive shaft is good. Go back here to our differential, it's not leaking. The boots are good. There is a little condensation water from the exhaust. Struts are fine. Sway bar links are good. Brakes are about half gone. We do see a torn boot here, but we probably need to get this other problem fixed with the customer before we start talking about other things that need to be fixed. This boot is torn as well. CV boots are good. Strut or shock is good. Nothing loose there. Unlike so many cars today, this one is true duals all the way back to the muffler. So that's really cool. Let's find out where are those high pressure pumps. So it's easy to think there will be one on each bank or one on the front, one in the rear of the engine, but they're actually both right up front on the side of the engine. They look easy to get to. They're actually not, and it's a pain in the butt to get them out. Let's take a look. Here's one. There's a connector. There's two. Back there. It's quite a job to get to them. It pays 3 hours per pump to get them out. So there's a lot of stuff that has to come out of the way. It looks like you could just unbolt it and pull them out, but you can't. A lot of stuff has to come apart to get them out. All that having to be the way the cradle and everything is designed and where they put accessories and stuff on this particular model. But that's what's wrong with this car and making so much smoke. Let's get this car on the ground. So now we can understand how a smoky engine like that, making all that smelly fuel smell, is actually just failed high pressure pumps on a direct injection engine. These pumps on the V6 and also the V8 versions of this F-Type is a very high failure rate. So if you buy an F-Type, you can bet you're going to be replacing high pressure fuel pumps at some point in 100,000 miles or less. We've done some sets on V6s and a couple on V8s. It's never a fast job. It doesn't go quickly. The first shop, $20,000 for a new engine or whatever it was they quoted, they were completely off base. It does not need a new engine. That was the get the car out of my shop, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I don't want to look at your car anymore price. That's what the $20,000 was. The second shop was correct. They said it needs high pressure fuel pumps. And they quoted roughly what we're quoting here, which is $4,000 to $5,000 range. Those pumps are not cheap. They're not $5 or $10 a piece. Between $600 and $800 a piece, depending on where you buy them. There's 2 of them. And then you got the hours of labor to put them in. And we had a lot of time diagnosis, 4,000-5,000 range, maybe a little less. Hopefully it'll be less. But I like to quote a little high because you never know what else you're going to find. Hey, we found a coolant leak while we were here. Hey, we're still in budget. And, you know, it makes everybody happy when you do it that way. And what I mean by high is a few $100, not thousands of bucks. So now we know the answer. We looked at the data. We looked at the codes. We verified everything. Yes, it is high pressure fuel pumps, $4,000 to $5,000 to fix them. We have informed the customer we're at a standstill right now. They're just not sure what they want to do right now. They're kind of going to let us know, call us back on which direction they want to go. I don't know what direction that's going to be, but at least we have an answer. We now know it's not $20,000 to fix this problem. Probably around 4, somewhere around in there. If you're a do-it-yourself mechanic, and you find one of these on Marketplace that needs high pressure fuel pumps or it says engine smoking, there's a very high chance you could purchase it, put the new pumps in, and have a good running car. Like I said, it's a high failure rate item. I checked the stock levels with Worldpac where I buy parts from. I think they had 80 pumps in stock because they know they're going to sell them all. It's a big failure rate on these cars. So wanted to do a video for you guys to show you how a smoking gun is not always a smoking gun. It can be completely something different than what you think it is. If you're curious what kind of tools we are going to use to work on this, or hopefully work on it, or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut. A lot of great gift ideas there for the holidays. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we have many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.